close. A lot of times when they go around, they misjudge that distance like you did there. And you can take their knee out. Does that make sense? You have to take a pretty wide arc. So that's your first thing. Now, whenever he goes to the back side, this is a slow thing. We don't do this. So you just flip to face him. So he goes this way, I'm right with him. He goes this way, I'm just sitting with him. I'm just comfy if it's one opponent.
And if he suddenly moves in, he just gave you a target.
And so if he moves in, like you said, down here is kind of your fortress. So as I'm down here, if he rushes me, I can kick or whatnot. If he kicks me and I fire to here, I hit, that's my chance to get up. Now if I got multiple opponents and they stay back there, I just say, okay, let's start over. So it's when they're committing that you've got to learn, what do I have? Even when I'm down, now let's look at the next thing. The opponent somehow gets to my stomach side flank. We call that a 90-degree turn. So if he's coming in, first thing I want to talk about is, if they're at a distance, this is primary A, and he comes in, I'm going to kick with the bottom foot first, is going to reach them first. An inside mantis to take the kneecap sideways. Then a roundhouse to go to the head or to reinforce the knee. Look at the possibility of combination as he comes in. It's always this, coming through here, kicking. If he wasn't down, I can reinforce the knee, feet are up and I'm out. That's your basic idea. That's at 90. So just watch me a few times in the air. Opponent's at 12 o'clock. Your basic combo is to stop him here. Obviously, I can fire 2 kicks. We use a bouncing method with the foot rather than a lot of styles like to hang the foot. But if you watch reloading this foot, if I hang it, it's this fast. If I bounce it, it's this fast. It's much quicker. So we like to bounce it. It also stops them from getting a leg under to hook it and open my whole guard up. So that's why we like to be here. The legs are not out here, they're into this position. Next thing we have is 90-degree turn. You notice I square up. This is the problem I usually see. Whatever my spine aims at, that's when I'm ready to really fight. So if my problem was here, I'm fighting you. And that's a problem.
Awesome.
Does that make sense? 2 of them. So you square up with it. The other thing is you want to get your targets. This is a general rule in all of tactics. Targets away, weapons in. So as he's coming in at me, what am I doing? My targets are moving away, my weapons are moving in. In the simplest terms. Now if he was really close to me, we have the same basic thing, like you're starting to get in the coffin. What are his options? If he tries to stomp on me, he tries to come down on me, whatever it is, your elbow, for example, is one of your best things to help you, and your hand will hit. What am I going to do from there is I'm going to use my 90-degree turn. It's the same thing. It just means that he's close enough that he gets attrition from the hands as well. Does that make sense? So as he moves in, if I was fighting this guy and suddenly a guy's on me, I turn with my feet if I can. I still have time. If he goes to, let's say, stomp on my head, he starts to get around to here. The thing you got to use to cover it is your elbow. Go ahead and finish your stomp. Use your elbow to strike at. Does that make sense? And as you do, you have your hands ready to reinforce it, and you start to targets away, weapons in. So that's your basic idea. When he's coming in, it's always targets away, weapons in. Does that make sense? That's my 90. Now, if he's on my backside 90, like he's right there, I'm going to use the top leg to kick first. So I turn, targets away, weapons in. Same theory, targets away, weapons in. Now the last one, probably the hardest one, is if he's by my head. The mistake I usually see is this. He comes in, and I try to go like this. My targets stayed right where they were. That's a problem. This is the worst thing, right? When he's coming in, my target's thinking, I'm out of here. That makes sense? I'm running, I'm getting behind. This is the women and children. They need to run behind the military and get in. Does that make sense? So as I do this, all I'm basically doing is I throw my head right where my feet are. As I do, if he can be throwing anything he wants, that's what's funny, is this leg becomes your check. It's like 4 corners. You know, I have this hand here and this hand here. Now you're on your feet, you're there. So you bring this thing over, like a knee kick and a mantis, an outside crescent. So as he comes in at me, I just evacuate. This is kicking, and then like Tom's been saying, you can start to hook in the thing. Does that make sense? Then you can play from there. But the big thing, you hear in the theory of it, is you're on the ground, targets away, weapons in. The other big thing is you square up as you're kicking. Because a lot of times, he holds a pad for me. Just kind of come in. This is, especially from the sides, you put it down like, just bend yourself back so you don't hit your knee. So if I kick like this, it's like that. And it's not bad. But if I will let my hips start to square up as I do it, you can see the difference in him. Both kicks, I square up and now I'm here. I'm also ready to refire. Does that make sense? If I stay slouched, you see that sort of a sound. It's weak. And if it's weak, you're on the bottom of the coffin. That makes sense? So once I hit the ground from this crew or whatever, I'm hitting with my hands and my feet. And if I'm still firing, I'm firing here and I'm moving. We'll get into grappling tactics in a bit, but that kind of summarizes. Plan A is I never let them get around me close enough. I hit the ground, I start kicking, and I keep them at bay as I'm going for knees. Anybody wants to lose their knee today, I'm happy to take it. That's kind of your thought.